Hi, I'm Anthony. Welcome to my garage. Today, I'm going to be making something useful out of this, and two sets of these. I'm making new battery cables, and here's part of the reason I'm making new battery cables. I've been having issues with when I go to start it, sometimes right at the end, just before it fires over, or before it fires up, it'll click. And also I've had twice now in the last month or so, it turned over and stopped completely while I was still holding the key, like there was a bearing that was seized up or something. So I'm pretty sure this is the problem. It's really corroded. The tops of the battery posts are really corroded. Brand new batteries in it. Here are my battery posts. That's my positive on my driver's side. Negative isn't too bad on the driver's side. Where I'm really having my issues, I believe, is here on the passenger side. And it is, the other day when it turned over and didn't want to start, I came out here and wiggled this, and it's pretty bad right in there. Sprayed some cleaner on it to try to clean it up a little bit. It didn't really help much. Again, the negative isn't bad at all. Not too bad, but I'm going to replace everything, including the wire that goes down to the starter, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. I did buy this on Amazon. It is 1/0 wire, and I bought 15 feet of each color, and I also have 4 feet of shrink tubing of each color. I got the marine grade terminals so that I can connect multiple different things if I need to. Like here on my driver's side, I have my stereo power cable going from there. So I have that. I also bought the 1/0 lugs on Amazon. One pack is 5/16 hole here, and the other pack is 3/8, because these here are two different sizes studs. Normally I try to make these myself with just some copper tube, but I was like, you know what, for $5 or $6 I can't go buy and spend time making these out of copper tube, and I'm not sure if this is 1/2-inch tubing or not. Doesn't look like it's quite 1/2-inch, so it may have been more trouble than it's worth trying to find the right size for these particular lugs. I am going to be soldering them. I do have solder and a torch. Okay, so before I go cutting anything, removing anything, I'm going to start making my cables to go back and do them one at a time. Okay, I needed to take this off so I can get this battery cable out of here. There are some brackets underneath this shroud, so see if I can pop it off without breaking it or anything else. Alright, let me grab my tape measure and I'll measure this up and cut my first piece, at least get the ends soldered on, so then I can go from there. Now this is being sold as welding cable on Amazon. When I searched for battery cable, this is what it came up as. I did go to Harbor Freight and get myself some cable cutters. Wow, that's an awful edge. I just looked at these. I'm not even sure those are sharpened. Let's see if this even cuts it. I may have to run the file over that just to get it cut. So, buyer beware. What I want to do is measure this out, and I'll put one end on here, and then I will come back or lay it up in there so I can see how it folds over, how it wants to turn, so I can put the other end on properly. I saw some measurements online and I was thinking, well, maybe I can get away with 10 feet each, and I was like, you know what, a couple extra bucks that it was for 15 feet. I guess it cut it. It wasn't the most beautiful thing, but it did cut it. For the extra 5 feet, and I think it was an extra 20 bucks for the 10 feet or the 5 feet of each one, it was well worth it to have more than enough and not need it than to need it and not have it. And I'm just going to grab one of these. They're called marine battery terminals. Just going to grab one of these out of here so I know which one I'm dealing with, so I get the right size lug here. And this is stud size 3/8. Now, what I did not do was order lugs, soldering lugs, to put inside here to melt. I forgot to do that when I was ordering my cable, so that would be something that you could order. I just went down to the big orange box store and got me a big roll of electrical solder, and I'm just going to cut a bunch off and fold it up and put it in there. Sucks putting it in there this way, but that's what I have right now, and that's what I'm going to use. And from what I've heard, you should fill it up about 3/4 of the way with liquid solder, and then dunk your end in there. So let's see how much this makes. I'll just try to fold that around again. Work some of this flux in there. Now I'm using MAP Pro gas. Regular propane works as well. This may actually get it too hot. I'm not sure. From what I've heard, you want to keep this as little as possible inside your vise, because this acts as a heat sink and will actually start drawing the heat out of the copper lug. So. Alright, well that didn't go anything like I planned it to. Alright, so that's currently what it looks like. Got the stragglers off there. The reason I did it this way is because I was try to heat this wire up here. It takes a lot of heat because that wire is so big. So if you can get the solder hot, and just dunk it in there and it'll cool off. That's what was happening. Was I guess I had too much in there, so that's my first one. We'll keep going from there and see how it comes out. You can also crimp these. If you have a crimper, go for it. I don't have a crimper. I had solder. I had all my stuff to do soldering, so I decided to do it this way. Alright, so it's cooled down. I've cleaned it up a bit, cut some of the chunks off. those off with a knife and just put this file over it to smooth it up a bit. I'm going to put some heat shrink on it. Okay, that does have the adhesive in it. I can see it oozing out here on the end. So, just wanted to get a nice tight seal on there. Seems like it's done that. Let that cool off. Lay it over on the battery and see how I want to line up the other one. Alright, now I'm just going to lay this in here. Kind of mark it out. I think it's going to lay. Top. Alright, now we repeat the process again. Alright, there we go. There's my first wire. Right here, I'm just putting some dielectric grease on here after I wipe it off. Clean it up a little bit. Get a good coating. Hopefully this will prevent any kind of corrosion from even starting, but it may not. But it could help prevent it for a while. Alright, well there's that battery done. After taking off my starter, because I don't know about your eyeballs, but my eyeballs do not bend up and around, and I could not see for the little wire to take that off. Tried to feel it. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't get a socket in there. Nothing. Well, I took it out finally, and here's another tip. If you normally work on your truck and you put it up on ramps, do that. If you normally jack it up, do that. If you normally put it on a lift, do that. Because you need to be able to get underneath there and get to the starter. And for me to not have it up on my ramps was just dumb. Well, I've already got the batteries disconnected, so I can't even start it now to even lift it up. And my jack, I can't lift it up that much higher than what it already is. I can a little bit, get the tires off the ground, but that's about it. Anyway, cleared off my memory card out of my camera, grabbed a little dinner while I was doing that, so now I'm ready to get back at it. And so far this is taking a long time. I've heard this should take about 2 hours changing it out. Now I don't know if that included making your own cables or not. I'm going to go with no, since it took me until I got all my tools and stuff out. It was an hour until I got my first wire or my first cable done. So this is going to take a while, unless you do this every day. Just took my battery out because it was much easier to see what I was doing here than with it in there. There's a cable inside this bundle here. It's going over here to the starter solenoid, I believe. Well, as per usual, what I thought should be a fairly simple job is turning into be something that needed to be done, but a real pain. It's frustrating. I'm sure your 7.3 didn't have any of this underneath it, right? Mine should have no rust issues at all, period. Underneath, period. No rust issues. It's leaking very slowly somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from. I haven't been able to pinpoint it, but it's leaking. Anyway, all right, we are under the truck, right behind the belts, and I'm pretty sure you can't see this. This bolt right there. while I'm very thankful for my garage, it does have a gravel floor. And in order to get to the back of my truck, I have to go outside to get around. So I've been in here working on it during the rain today, so at least I do have dry. It's just kind of a pain in the butt to not have a concrete floor, and also I have to go all the way around. Like all my tools are in my back seat or on the back of the bed in toolbox. So in order to do that, I got to go outside. I can't go beside the garage door because it's too tight. So if you're building a garage, put yourself in a wider than 8-foot door. Make sure you got a concrete floor. You're good. 10-foot doors, and you need it at least 30 feet deep. All right, so I got the stud out of the block that had the bracket on it for this main cable over here. I'm not sure it'll come out of there, but and the stud was also holding in the ground cable to the block. So here's what I need to recreate. So I guess I'm going to take this whole thing apart and see what I can come up with as far as putting everything back together again. So I spent about $80 for my wire, $12 for my lugs, $14 for my solder, and I believe a whole new, including everything, is about well, you can get it from Custom Battery Cables for $277 already made, and all you got to do is put it in. So now I got to redo this whole thing. I don't know if it was worth redoing everything or trying to build it myself or not. I don't think it is. So you figure in your time. I've been out here for, I'm probably into 3 or 4 hours already on this stupid thing. I don't know what your time is worth to you. If it's not worth very much, then go ahead and build it. But if your time is valuable to you and worth anything to you at all, then I would say go ahead and buy the cables already put together. It'll take you long enough to change them. I don't know what somebody would charge you to put them on, but not doing it every day and not knowing exactly what to expect, just loosening stuff up as I go, it is probably worth it to have the cables already made up. Because while I have the big cables, which is what I thought I needed, I don't have any of the small cables. So I'm not sure if I'm just going to run the big cables with that too and just be done with it. Probably will. So like this thing right here. I guess I'll just make a new one. I gotta know which side goes to where. But I did notice down here the wire on the going to the starter, there's a bare spot in the cable, like it had been nicked or just broken in general, and it was starting to be on the fritz, so that could have caused me some major issues down the line. I'll have to take one of my copper lugs and bend the 90 in it like this so that it works on the starter. This piece right here, trying to pull it out, it actually broke here instead of pulling out, so apparently it's glued in there. Here's another reason you want to buy one instead of making it yourself. My other wire will go in here because the outside seems to be a bit smaller. From everything I could tell, everybody said it's 1/0 wire from the battery to the starter. That's what I got, even though it is smaller than what this is. And there's, as far as I know, nobody's been able to find any markings on here as to what size wire it is, but it's a different size. And now I got to dig this all out so I can get my new wire in through this bracket. Again, I'll reiterate, if you want to do this yourself, you may save a couple bucks as far as cash out of pocket, but is it worth it? No, I don't think so. Like, and it may be what you value your time at, but I don't think it's worth it. I think I finally got my power cable done. I needed one of these. So I took this one and I bent it up. I had some of this red wire, 12 gauge. Actually, it might be a little bit thicker than that. Might be 10 gauge. And I'm using that for starter relay or solenoid on the sidewall of the inside of the hood. I think I got everything else put together, ready to put in. Now I got to make my negative cable. Both sides. This is attached to the battery. This goes to the body. I can make another one like that. That's not a problem there. I had one here that was attached to the frame that cannot get to it to take it off. So what I'm going to do is just make a new attachment point to the frame using the 1/0 wire. So all of these are going to be 1/0. And that's why I have the marine post battery terminals so that I can put a bunch of them on there. So after a late night in the shop, or in my garage here, I finally called it a night because I ran out of parts. Here's what I ran out of, these copper lugs. Now, unfortunately, nobody in town has these. It's on a Sunday. Nobody has them that I could find quickly. So, what I did is I went to the orange box store and am making my own. So, the way I'm doing it, I needed these extra ones. You may not need them if you're not replacing all your bits and pieces, but I'm going to, using everything new. So this here, the stuff that I got at the box store, is $20 by itself. Now I could have made all of them from this if I really wanted to, or I spent $6 for a package of 5 Amazon. And the closest thing I found online was Tractor Supply, and they wanted $10 a piece. So just get extras. You can always, so I needed some that needed a 1/2 inch hole, and I just drilled them out. Worst case scenario, buy an extra bag of 5/16. You can always drill them out. You can always use the smaller ones because there's a couple places where you need smaller ones as well. Another tip. Besides the fact of don't do this yourself. I was laying in bed last night trying to go to sleep, trying to think of what all I need, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I got almost as much in materials as I would have if I'd have just went and bought. Not quite as much as if I'd have went and bought the ones I wanted from Custom Battery Cables. If I would have went on eBay and just bought the stock one and replaced it, I think the ones on eBay are running around $200. So I'm at probably $120, $130. I have to add everything up yet to make my own. So if I'd have just went and bought, paid the extra $50, it would have been well worth the hassle, or the extra $120 to have the wire that I wanted. And with all the right connectors and everything on it, well worth the hassle. So, and plus I've been out here forever. Started yesterday at 4. By the time I gathered all my tools, and obviously I'm filming, so that takes a little bit longer. But if I think I finally went inside at around 11:30, 12. So from 4 to 12. So if anybody tells you that maybe an experienced mechanic can change out the whole thing in 2 hours, I'm not that experienced. I've done a lot of stuff on my truck. There's no way I could change this out in 2 hours. So just keep that in mind. Some people can do it in 2 hours, that's fine. And you're gonna get dirty, really dirty. All right, well, let me get to making these lugs, and I'll make the rest of these negative cables up. And if you're wondering about making your own copper lugs for 1/0 wire, it is 3/8 inside diameter. It's actually a little bit more than that, I think. I checked it with the calipers, so I'm going to make a punch to flare the ends so that I can get it shoved in there. So here's what it looks like. Trim this ends up here, poke a hole in it, good to go. This is the little wire that was going from the engine block to the frame. So I'm replacing that with this 1/0 wire, because that's what I have, and I'm making a new spot to fasten it to the frame because I can't get to the old spot. So, obviously I can't take my cameras under there. It's way too dirty, and I can't get them in there to even show you what I'm doing. So you'll just have to remember that this is what this wire is for. This is going from the block to the frame. Can I reiterate one more time? Don't make your own cables. Get ones that are already made and made for the truck. So after being extremely frustrated after a long 2 days of working on this thing, I got in my truck and went to turn the key and nothing. Then I noticed there wasn't even, the lights weren't even on inside, and I was like, something's weird. So I got out my book and was looking at any possible solution, and checked all the fuses, wasn't getting any power to the fuse box. So I was like, there's something wrong here. And so I started looking through my book to see if there was a main fuse. I was getting good power and good ground to everywhere except for the fuse boxes. No lights or anything. Key turned over, nothing happened. And I'm frustrated beyond belief. And so I tried to do my research before I went on Facebook, but I just couldn't find it. I knew they would help me solve it instantly. So I went on to the 7.3 Power Strokes page that has like 40,000 some members. And within 5 minutes we had it solved. And it was my solenoid wires were backwards. I had the power to solenoid side that should have power when the key's turned, not to the main lug, I guess. I'll show you where I was at. So I was right here, and I had the fat wire to the front instead of to the back. I just want to say thanks again to the guys on 7.3 Power Stroke page. They are a lifesaver. So if you have a 7.3, you need to be on the 7.3 Power Strokes page. 9 times out of 10, they'll help you solve, especially something simple like this, or know where to look, because somebody has gone through this. And it's really a testament to the power of community. So check out that page. I'll post the link in the description below as well. All right, let's fire it up, see what happens. All right, so that concludes this cable build and install for 7.3 liter diesel Ford. Again, I will reiterate again and again and again, I don't think it's worth it to build your own. I think it's worth it to either go on to eBay and buy the Motorcraft ones. You will have to have, there's 2 separate ones. One's the power, the positive side, and then there's a couple negative ones. So, yes, you can build them. Is it cheaper? I don't think so. Not if you include your time. So far, I've probably had close to 12 to 15 hours in this kitchen thing. And it's really frustrating. Now, I know there's guys that say they've changed everything out in 2 hours. There's no way I can do that. And to be honest with you, this was probably more frustrating than changing my oil cooler and redoing the seals in my oil cooler. So, just food for thought. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm a carpenter, not a mechanic. Try to work on my own stuff, but don't try to do it in the evening or in a rush, because you will get frustrated. So with that being said, I appreciate you sticking around this long. If you like these kinds of videos, give me the thumbs up. If you want more, click subscribe. They may or may not show up. And as always, remember to make today the best and to be a positive influence on someone else. Have a great day.